modern technology, I guess. Well, maybe we'll get going, and hopefully some other people will join us here. But I'll call the meeting to order officially at 7:01. And again, hopefully everybody's happy with the groundhogs news this past week.
Mike, is 4 of us a quorum?
Yes. Yep. 4 is a quorum. So we're good to go. Has everybody had a chance to look at the December meeting minutes that were the last ones, last meeting we had? Anybody have any comments or corrections or additions to it? If not, do I get a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve.
Okay, second.
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. And so we have Margaret's on board. Good evening, Margaret. So we have a number of things to go over this evening, but I guess we'll move on to communication announcements. If anybody has anything they want to chat about or bring up.
Our timing was great for I guess the timing for the town was great. There's a special election in the town hall tonight.
Oh, is there?
Oh yeah, it's at 7 o'clock.
Oh,
No, it's at 6:30 actually.
Oh, okay. Well, by the time they get around to it, it'll be 7 o'clock, and it's to elect a alternate to the Board of Finance.
okay. Very good. Hopefully it goes well. Good evening, Maureen, as well. Welcome. We're in communications announcements. Anyone else have anything else they'd like to add? Then before we go into old business. Okay, we'll move along to old business. The POCD IID zone updates, info from planning and zoning. I think the last time we had talked, I had reached out to the chair, Mr. Silver Smith, regarding our Town of Futures offer to try to maybe help them facilitate some maybe meetings on their information gathering for the POCD, and he thanked us for that. But I understand, based on the last planning and zoning meeting, that we should be, all the boards and commissions should be receiving a letter very soon, any day probably, regarding soliciting information from all the groups. From what I understand, and maybe Dick, you have more information on this.
Yeah, at the last meeting, there was an update that was given on the I'm trying to think of the right word for it, but the
process.
The process that was sent out to get people's input.
Right.
And by and large, the most of the input that was of interest was in the comments, and Mike D'Amato was in the process of putting that together, and I think it'll be presented at the meeting next week.
You're talking about POCD right now, or are you talking about something?
No, the IID zone update.
Okay, right.
There was a moratorium put on all development, and part of that was to go out to the community and ask them what they thought should be done at that zone. And there was eight or so questions with multiple choices, and then there was an opportunity to make comments. There was a lot of concern with the nature of the options given on the questions, and as a result, most of the feedback from those that submitted were in the comments, and Mike D'Amato was in the process of trying to put that together in a form that could be shared with the Planning and Zoning Commission. And there was really no discussion of the POCD to any great degree at the last meeting.
Yeah, my understanding is that Jeff is going to send out a letter to all the boards and commissions and interested parties of the POCD, asking that they provide some feedback on the elements of the POCD that they have some responsibility for or interest in, and have those comments back to planning and zoning by the end of May. That's what my take of it was. So
Yeah, and the real point that I've been making ad nauseum is one of the first things that they need to do is get someone that is in charge of pulling this together. And so far, no one is in charge of it. The closest to in charge is they seem to be inclined to offload it to Mike D'Amato's company.
okay, well, I mean, we've done. I mean, like I said, we've outreached a few times to offer some assistance some way, but it is a huge undertaking, that's for sure. And what I will do for us anyhow is I will, after this meeting, I'll send out to you. I've kind of highlighted the 2015 POCD with the elements that our town, our future is identified as having some part in. Maybe that could begin our focus. There's probably like 10 or 12 items scattered throughout the POCD under a number of the headings. And I think if we all just take a look at that and see if there's anything we want to add to that, so maybe that our before May, that we can kind of at least pull together some thoughts and get it back to T&C on that. So it's probably the best we can do at this point.
Can I add something?
Sure.
At the last PZC meeting, Jeff Silversmith said he would be on the committee for on the working group for the POCD. Janet Bellamy said she would. Luther Broch said he would like to, and he would put in time as much as he could, but he knew he couldn't always make every meeting. And then Jeff Silversmith asked if anyone from the community that was listening would be interested in being on the working group. And 2 people volunteered. I was one, and Christine Acebo is the other. I don't know if that's going to be the extent of the working group or not. We have not met. I think they're going to wait till this moratorium is settled.
Okay, thank you for that update. Okay, moving on to, or does anybody else have any other comments? I'm sorry. Okay, moving on to item 4B, the Ashford CT Outdoors. You want to provide an update on what you've seen? So far, a few things have happened since our last meeting, of course. Nora?
Yes. Well, within the last half hour, I emailed everybody with links to 2 places where that website link has been posted. Mike, I don't know if you can pull it up or if you want me to, if you can share and I can.
If you want to go ahead, you can, but yeah, I don't have that. I don't have it on my screen here.
Let's see if I can share screen here.
I know that it is on the town website now as well.
Oh, is it? That
Yes.
I didn't know. Okay.
It's
So
under
we-
recreation, the recreation tab.
Okay. So this is what it looks like at CT Visit, which is the Connecticut tourism website. It's got a little problem with the images because if you're on a screen that's too small, such as mine, I'm right on my laptop screen, you don't see quite the whole picture. But this is spring, autumn, and winter in Ashford. This is the first paragraph of the Ashford webpage. Let's see if I can get this to work right. Not sure. There we go. I have to be able to scroll down. This is the paragraph that introduces the website. And then, so the guy who did this, I just sent him the link and the picture. He went in and he pulled out the, oh, I can't do it here, but he pulled out the email address from the website. This is the website, ashfordctoutdoors.org. This is the OTOF Facebook page. And then for map and directions, if I click on this, it shows from wherever I am, which happens to be at home. It may not work. My internet's throwing up. There it is. It will show directions to downtown Ashford, what I could like to call downtown Ashford. If I put in directions, it'll give that thing. But anyway, I thought that was pretty cool. That worked out. And then the other one, if I can, sorry. Darn. Now I'm kind of stuck here. I'm going to stop sharing so that I can go back and get the other website before I put it up. The other one is the Last Green Valley, and it's a little strange. Let me get back to Zoom here. The way it shows up is a little strange, and I'm going to contact them and see if I can get them to rearrange this a little bit. But there are all the places, there are some of the places in Ashford that people have put up. The thing that's strange about it is, so this under cycling and mountain biking, here's our website, which we can click on down here, or you can look at a map. And then you scroll down farther, there's the farmer's market. And then there's this credit union that has that's paid for ads. So it has right in the middle. But if you scroll down farther to hiking and more, there's the Ashford CT Outdoors again. And the reason it's in there twice now is that Parks and Recs paid $50 just for our first entry. And then the Economic Development Commission paid $50 for the second entry. So that's why we see it twice. So those are the two, and I'll have to look at the website for the town to see how it looks.
Yeah, Nora, just as an aside for you, the Ashford Business Association is no longer in existence.
Well,
yeah, I noticed that when I was on that page the other day. We'll need to reach out to the Last Green Valley and let them know that, so they can take them off of that online listing, because they appear in a few different places.
I'm surprised it's still there if they haven't paid for this year.
Right.
I would think they would have taken it down. But okay, good to know. When I get in touch, I'll see if they can remove that.
Well, and I think too, Nora, because you're also paying to be listed in that Explorer's Guide, the paper printed copy of it. So, they may not, scrub everything, in terms, they're more anxious to add new places. So that's why the ABA is still listed, I'm sure.
Online.
But I'll reach out to them to let them know to make that go away. So.
Okay.
Very good.
So I'm real happy with that much exposure. And what I'm wondering now at this point, I'm still going to be working with Parks and Rec, but I'm wondering if anybody here has other ideas about how we can capitalize on this to advertise Ashford more.
Well, now that you've got a listing on the CT Visits page, the Eastern Region Tourism District does, as do all of the visitor districts, do these promotional itineraries. So they'll do this thing, right, just to keep their website fresh, like, 15 things to do in April. And they'll go around, the region focusing on this thing or that thing. So I think if we can try to spin to them, and Bob Ignatowicz is sort of on this case as the EDC rep, is to take some of the assets we have in town and to suggest to them that they feature it. So once we get into, hiking weather, right? I mean, when people are more apt to be thinking about going out from other areas, we can try to get it promoted that way. Have we done a story, and forgive me for not remembering, either for neighbors about this website I know you did in the Citizen, but I think we could also place a little short article in Neighbors,
I can do
and maybe even the Chronicle. There's a couple of there's nobody that really covers Ashford, but I'm working with a couple of new reporters in Mansfield, and maybe I can pitch to one of them this, kind of the Our Town, Our Future story, along with this this website that you've created, and that this is all organic volunteers, what we're doing with Our Town, Our Future. So but I think it's really getting into the hiking community. Like, I think that if there are some other Facebook groups that focus on hiking around the state, that it's just kind of getting us on the radar of some of those social media circles.
Okay.
I also was wondering if we should think about producing some, like a postcard or some kind of a little pocket something that we could put out at different places for people to pick up, so that they would be prompted to then remember. We could do a QR code and all that kind of stuff, but if there's the opportunity for some kind of a little, take some little paper printed something to promote your site.
Yeah, I wonder if you got like some information like that over to Henrietta House, for instance, if people are staying there looking for something to do. That might be like a spot, or at the I don't know if the package store. I'm afraid people there may. I don't know, but anyhow,
Well, but that's the
tourism.
tourism. That's still the tourism. He's got the slots there that the Last Green Valley put out, the brochure rack. I mean, that's still the place in town to put tourism information. The library, of course.
Yeah, that's more for the people that are in the area already. It's just a matter of how far you want to launch, this as a known destination. It could go global in a sense, if you know what I mean. So, but yeah, I think it's a good start, and I think certainly any of the trail apps, if they have those magazines or those type of things where you can put on that's where you're going to get the people that are really interested in this type of thing. A more concentrated audience.
Yep. The other thing, even though the ABA is no longer, I believe there's still a directory. I don't think they've taken the website down. There is a directory of the businesses that were part of the ABA, and one of them was Henrietta House, but there may be other businesses that were on there that you could also, feature on your website.
Okay.
Very good. Any other thoughts? Okay. Thank you, Nora. Appreciate all that effort. Moving on to item C, which is a grants update. Just for a refresher, last few meetings, I did reach out to both the past and the current first select people relative to Our Town, Our Future volunteering to actually try to coordinate, looking to get somebody on board, either like a consultant for grant writing opportunities. And I did follow back up with Catherine here just recently, and they were still looking at it. And what I did suggest to her, though, is I gave her a couple names of consultants that are working right now with one of the Southwest regional planning agencies. They kind of a neat idea where they actually put these people out available for all the communities that are part of that planning region to tap into to help write and prepare grants. But I told her, just call these people up, ask them what their gig is. Do they charge? How much do they charge? Are they willing to do help prepare grants with in lieu of a payment up front, that if the grant is successful, that you roll their fees into the administrative part of the grant. So she was going to do that to see whether that might be some she could pursue. She was talking about whether they were going to put something in the budget or were they going to want to hire somebody or whatever. So I guess at this point, it's really in the hands of the Board of Selectmen to decide what they want to do and path they want to take. So, any assistance we may go beyond what we've already done in a sense, kind of in a holding pattern. So, but I will mention, I still am connected with my professional listservs and things. So I get a lot of information on mostly transportation related grants. And I did have one that came by last week concerning a survey that the DOT is doing on basically bike and walkways. It's actually called the Active Transportation Micro Grant Program, and it's really, they're trying to look to provide some little grants to kind of either get education going or different types of things. And so I did pass that on to Nord because there's a bike component, and he did fill out the survey, and he actually did, while he was doing it, he did actually apply for a grant. Now whether they'll judge him as an eligible party, they have some kind of loosey-goosey eligibility that it can be a nonprofit organization. They really are looking at schools or municipalities. So I mean, it looks like something that he may be able to buy even buy some equipment, bike helmets or safety equipment for kids, or provide some classroom training for kids. Excuse me a minute. I have somebody else now we got more than a quorum here for the meeting. The little guy just wants the father here.
Yeah, Mike, I would remind you, Courtney Henderson, I think was her name, but she was part of CROG. They've changed their names a couple of times, but she had come to a couple of the EDC meetings back a couple of years ago, and they had volunteered to help write grants. They would upfront their time, and if the grant came through, they would get paid. So there was no out of pocket, to get started. And I don't know, I can't recall what the current name of that organization is because it's changed.
I think it's still Stedith. Is that who you're talking about?
No,
you're talking about CREC?
CROG.
CREC, I think it was.
Yeah, CREC or something. Yeah, but Courtney Henderson was the person that came to one of our meetings, and she had offered to help write the grants. And if they won them, then she'd get paid. If not, there was no out of pocket.
Yeah,
Was she with CERC? CERC?
Yeah, I think that was it. Yeah.
Yeah, some of the grant writers have very kind of limited scope of the types of grants they apply for, but that's certainly one to throw into the mix. And I'll forward that information to Catherine as well. So anyhow, there's a lot of opportunities out there. I mean, people talking about open space. I mean, there was just DEEP rather, just closed out their open space grant program last fall, but they may start up another one based upon funding availability. But the town's looking at its open space program and trying to preserve lands and things. There's always those type of things that are out there as well, along with all kinds of litany of other ones the town has already successfully applied for and got. But there's certainly a lot that are being missed out on, and to have somebody who knows what they're doing, that's in the loop on these things, is be an asset to the town and fiscally and resource wise for sure. So I'll check back with Catherine, and like I said, I did send her the information here about a week or so ago and see if she was able to contact people I at least gave her. So any other thoughts on that?
Is that transportation grant closed at this point? Mike, do you know?
No, which one? The one
that Nord.
There's a survey. I can send you all the link. It was like a survey, and it's open until February 9th survey date. I mean, he said he applied for a grant. I didn't go through the survey myself. to see what the link was beyond, and I didn't contact the lady that sent it out. But you know, it's a small grant that they're trying to really help you know, smaller communities and you know, disadvantaged communities and places. But I think, you know, it could be something that they could latch onto. And
Well, I'm just thinking that, you know, we were just talking about doing some rack cards or some printed materials, you know, that we could leave at attractions and leave at the, you know, at the truck stop and out at the highway, right at that seat, you know, that big visitation center. Um, I wonder if we could, if, you know, Nora's trail map system would, you know, qualify for transportation if there's some bike trails and whatnot as part of it. I wonder if, you know, again, a few $100s just to produce some rack cards might not hurt, right?
well, let's see, I could read you the purpose and need was to provide opportunities and resources for safe walking, biking, and rolling for all of Connecticut. Equity focused students through schools and municipalities, historically underrepresented groups, and through nonprofits. You know, and they would support pedestrian and bike safety with a focus on equity, and they support bicycle and safety reduction or education in schools, and support transportation access in communities. So I'm not sure it fits with it, but there are, I will tell you, there are plenty of other grants that come up for things specific to what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And they threw a lot of big money, truthfully, here in the last 3 or 4 years at trails and things like that. So they come up, but I think we have to be, you know, poised and have a point person, you know, like I said, certainly a consultant that's on top of these things, you know.
Yep.
And the other part of it, truthfully, most of these grants, there's a matching component, so the town has to have some, you know, money available and be willing to spend some money too. You know, spend 25 cents to get 75 cents. You know,
Yep.
usually with the ratios here. So,
Mike, I came across the announcement of a grant program from DEEP for building or improving trails. And I thought it would be perfect for repairing the handicapped accessible trail because it needs some work. The deadline for this year is March 11th, and I don't know if it's possible to make that. I talked to Loretta about it, and I talked to Sherry about it. I attended the opening webinar that explained, and that was recorded. I've got to get the link and send it to those two. But one thing that we're going to need is estimates for the work. And I'm sure they will ask the Public Works Department if they think they can do it. But I think we would probably also need a couple other estimates, and I will email you. So I'm assuming that you might have some connections to companies that might do that. When I spoke to Sherry, she had no idea.
I have some ideas on that, Nora. I talked to some folks in Mansfield today
Oh,
also.
excellent. Okay.
So the suggestion from them was that you would need to get, and they think a landscape architect
Okay.
would be a good place to start to look at the trail, to get a sense, because they know, right, with this ADA stuff, how it has to be accommodated, so that a landscape architect could give you a sense of what needed to be done.
Okay.
And then if it is in fact supposed to be an accessible path, that, you know, likely you would want to have it paved, and that even like a Krukoff construction paving company could tell you what the price is, right, for, again, for grant purposes, for paving something like that. And then the other piece, if we had the luxury of time and we didn't think we needed to get the grant in this year, but we wanted to wait a year, that the program that we've worked with in Ashford before, this landscape architecture school at UConn, looks for projects like this where they can come out on site close to campus and kind of take a look at it and put together a proposal for what it would take to do the trail the way you had in mind. So, again, we don't really have the resources to hire a landscape architect to come out and take a look at it. One thought I had is, we were hooked into the landscape architect because John Rettenmeyer, who's on the EDC, his son Michael does landscape architecture in Farmington. And I wonder, if we could ask Mike to go down and just take a look at it and get a sense for, what might be involved in doing this. I don't know whether, that's something that he could do for us or not, but that would be, you had asked who would even assess what does this trail need, and that's who they think would do that kind of work.
Okay, that's
Well,
good
good
to
point.
know.
I think, critical to all of this type of stuff is that have like I refer to it as a capital plan, where you have these things kind of laid out when you want to do them, so you can do a lot of pre-planning. Because a lot of these grants, I hate to tell you, they come up, they come up every year, but they don't tell you necessarily when they're going to come out, and you have a very short window to get them prepared. So if you have basically plan ready, or things that could be, at least have what I call the preliminary plans developed, where you have rough idea of schematics, or an estimates of cost and things like that, then it positions you better to be ready to apply for these types of grants. Because like I said, if it's due March 11th, you got a month. I mean, it's really going to be
Right.
Scrambling to get that done. That could be done, but I mean, sometimes these things require even a public meeting and confirmation by the legislative body to approve the project application and/or commit to future matching funds. So again, that's why the pre-planning part is, you might be best to say that's something we want to do next year, start working on it, and even getting a placeholder in the budget if there's going to be a matching part of the grant now to get in this year's budget, so you have the money next year.
Right. I totally agree with that. It's an 80-20 grant, so the town would have to put up 20, but that's a deal if we can get the grant. And the way I'm figuring it is that it will be a small project. And so a lot of have a much bigger project. And I felt like this could maybe get wedged in with the little bit of extra money or something if it didn't come out even. But yeah, those are all good ideas. And I will talk to Loretta and Sherry and see how they want to proceed. I do think this year's too soon. I even thought that back in December when I heard about it, because a lot of people were at the meeting were saying things like, well, we got turned down last year. Can we just reapply? So, I mean, they're totally ready to go, right? So it's going to take work, because I don't think we've done this before. The town hasn't. I don't think Sherry has. I don't think Loretta has either. So we'll see.
And there is one other resource that I don't think the town's really tapped into too much, and I'm not sure the status of it, but the NECOG, we're allegedly a member of NECOG, and they have an engineer on board that's supposed to be able to help the town with certain aspects of design. So certainly if, this trail requires some things beyond the landscape architect's abilities to generate a concept and/or pricing and things, that resource should be looked at as to what's available there to help put these application packages together. And quite frankly, some of them, the money does run through NECOG too, but so they should be, that should be something that should be at least explored a little bit to see if there's some resources to help on this type of project.
I can go through the for select woman on that and see if she knows how to get a hold of that person, see if she's willing to act as the liaison. I think she probably have more credibility than I do.
Yeah, I mean, I think she's the representative. You have to go through her anyhow. They're not going to talk to us. But I'm just saying that that is a resource that should be explored, because we might be already paying for it, is what I'm getting at.
Right,
Uh,
yeah. So that's, you know, that's more taking advantage of what's available that we're already paying for somehow. So that's
Yeah.
great. Okay.
Speaking
Right.
about NECOG, there was discussion back a couple administrations ago about withdrawing from NECOG and looking if we could align ourselves with the adjacent one. I can't think of the right acronym, because we weren't getting a whole lot of support from NECOG at the time. We don't necessarily fund any fixed funding to NECOG, and to my knowledge, any longer. And one of the things that Mike Diamato's group brought up is they could access all the same databases that NECOG could access. So as far as working the logistics of putting together the mapping and things of that nature for the POCD, they volunteered that they could do that. I don't know where things stand as far as whether we still are using NECOG. There was at one point in time kind of an open order with the building department to use one of their engineers when things came up. I don't know if that's still in effect at all at this point.
Well, I'll check with the first select woman and we'll find out.
Right, it's worth a try. Okay, any other thoughts on the grant updates? A good conversation. I mean, there's a lot of opportunity out there, that's for sure. So I think it's just a matter of whether we can tap into some of that money that's out there. Any thoughts, Maureen? No? Okay. Good. Project updates. Anybody have any project updates?
I do want to report something, and that is that my husband noticed that the bathroom doors on that old gas station that you folks, they're all kicked in. No idea what's going on inside that building, whether it broke through to the main part of the building or what, but it's deteriorating, I think is one way to put it.
Yeah, I did notice that too. I'll send an email out to the gentleman who's the broker. I've communicated with him a few times, so I'll let him know. Yeah, must have been a big squirrel. Okay. Any other comments, updates?
I've got a question for Maureen. Maureen, have you been working with the Historical Society since they became kind of reactivated the last few months? I'm
You're
curious
You're
what they
muted,
have.
Maureen. You're muted. We can't hear you.
No, I haven't had any interaction with them. Gwen may have, so I can't update anything on that for you.
I just wondered what they've got on their horizon, now that they've, become sort of re-energized again. I was curious if they, what their plans might be. And because, we've talked about that being the history component of Ashford being a strong asset for us. And so I just was curious.
I don't know if they publish their minutes anywhere. I know they're not required to because they're not a town committee, but they may have their minutes somewhere that could be accessed. But again, I don't know. I think either Gina or Gwen. I'm sorry, I can't shed any light on that.
It looks like they've got an active program of they have some stuff that they're selling at the town hall. It looks like they're trying to raise some money, at least via the peddling some items for sale of historical significance to the town.
They just started a Facebook page too.
Yeah.
That was linked to the community page.
Yeah.
And
I
they
think
put up a bunch of pictures. I'll see if I can find it and I can email it to you, Margaret.
Well, I've been on that because we hosted, remember that event back in December. So just
Okay.
beyond them doing the merchandise sales and doing that whole the map, I just wondered, kind of what's on their horizon of
Mhm.
their priorities. So
yeah, I think the person to speak with would be Gina Burnham,
yep, definitely.
because she's the one that's kind of breathed life into the whole activity.
Yep.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Any other new member recruitment? I have that on here as a standing item. Any new business? Moving on to the POCD. Like I said, I will forward out to everyone a highlighted version of the 2015 POCD, and I'll just ask everybody to kind of take a look at it. There's not a lot of items, so it's probably not a big lift per se, but maybe begin to collect your thoughts and see if there's anything we should tweak, remove, or whatever, with the idea of getting something back to planning and zoning in May sometime. So anybody have any other thoughts?
Well, Nora, I appreciate your update from the last plan and zoning meeting. The point I still would encourage anyone that's volunteering to be on this committee is that Jeff needs to get someone to lead it. When we were doing the last one, we were meeting every week or 2 weeks, and we had active participation from a staff member from NECOG that was helping with a lot of the writing. Mike Diamato's group has volunteered to take that role this time, but there needs to be someone from one of the standing committees, be it planning and zoning or otherwise, that takes the role here to basically lead this effort. Having people volunteer for the committee is good, but someone needs to actually pull it all together.
Yeah, I understand that. We'll just see when we have our first meeting, how everything falls out.
Very good. No one from the public is here. Any member input for next agenda? Which I'll comment. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be available for the next couple months of meetings. So I can put together the next agenda and get that set up. If you all want to meet and continue these discussions, and I'll certainly let everybody know what I've come up with before I have to leave in a couple of weeks. So I don't know, that's kind of where I'm at. Like I said, I'm not going to be able to probably have the time and the ability to kind of even zoom in on a meeting. So I kind of throw it out there for your digestion at this point. Like I said, I can put together the next meeting and you guys can meet and provide any updates and discuss the POCD. That's probably the biggest thing on our plate right now, unless the first select woman gets back to us that wants us to do something more in the grants. But any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think we should try to meet if we can. I just don't understand the process of, how do you get the Zoom link and all of that stuff? So.
Yeah, I mean, what I do is I just actually Mike D'Amato. I just email him and he sets it up.
Okay.
I did have a problem here the last week. I mean, that's why it took so long. Somehow I was sending him an email and he said he was sending me one back, and he was, but it never got to me. And it finally somehow there was some log jam someplace and finally connected, but it took a lot.
We're having a hard time with our emails in and out, the westfordhill.com. Yeah. I don't know if they've ratcheted up the potential spam stuff, but we've had emails not get through to people that normally have, right? So I don't know, there's something going on, I think.
Yeah, Mike said there was
It's
something
his
going on.
stuff.
It wasn't in my spam, and he thought it might have been something going through the town system, or I don't know. But anyhow, it's easy enough to do once you get that. And like I said, I'll get the next one set up. Unfortunately, I won't be able to attend. And just if you do end up having a quorum and meet, then somebody just has to take notes, because I do have to. Legally, we're supposed to get the minutes, or I should say the minutes that we take, unofficial minutes, to the town clerk's office within 48 hours, whatever. But
Even without a quorum, you're supposed to file the notes?
no, not with the quorum. With the quorum, you are supposed to still file that you didn't have a meeting. But that's all you do. You just say that the meeting
Right.
canceled because there was a lack of quorum.
Yep.
Yeah, Margaret, we don't have a vice chairman, but I can't volunteer because I've got a few things going on myself. But Margaret, would you take the responsibility to take over for Mike?
Sure.
Maybe we should have elections. That'd be a nice thing. Well, I mean, we've kind of been, for the most part, somewhat informal in our approach.
Yeah.
I've been kind of coordinating this thing, but I'd certainly love for somebody to step up at some point here and carry on. But I'll get the next meeting set up, and if I could probably help and get the Zoom link for the other ones too. But like I said, I'm not going to probably be able to participate at this point. So, like I said, if I hear other stuff in between, I'll certainly forward that information to you all. But
it might be good to tell Mike D'Amato that Margaret will be requesting the link for the meeting.
Sure. Okay. Any other thought, comment?
I think if we do look at the POCD as our focus of our next one, I think it might present, what should be on our horizon, like what should we be worrying about next, in terms of always having, right, a sort of an action item that we can be ticking off and feeling like we're making, some progress on something. So, maybe the POCD will kind of reveal something, an idea that we'd had that we haven't tended to, or, just there's so much, limitless opportunity of things that could be done here in the community. And so, but the POCD is definitely the next priority. So
yeah, and I would add, and this is for Nora a little bit too, the POCD is not one big thing to have someone do. If you look at it by section, there's pretty much someone or some group that's responsible for each section. And the idea of getting someone that is coordinating this, it's simply reaching out to each one of those groups, be it conservation, be it historical, or what have you, that they look at what was in the last document and see what they need to do to update it. And we're in an advantage this time in that we were already behind schedule when we started working on it last time. This time we're ahead of schedule, so there is more time to do things this time. But if we don't get organized, it's going to get right back up against the wall again.
Yep. I'm going to see what Jeff Silversmith has to say next week at the PVC meeting, and then see if we can, if it's not going to be coming up immediately, then I'll talk to him and see what we can do to move ahead with it.
Yeah, and I will be bringing up the same points I've been making at that meeting too.
Yes. Okay.
And one other point I'd like to make about POCD and on our town, our future, even though we're identified on certain objectives and goals within the framework of that document, it still doesn't say that we aren't or couldn't be participants or facilitators, I should say, on other aspects of the document. I think when it was prepared in 2015, we kind of slid Our Town, Our Future into certain slots that kind of had more of a global community perspective. But there are things that, if from our mission statement, we have the flexibility of, if so directed by Board of Selectmen or Planning and Zoning, to provide some facilitation on some other items within the framework of the document. And the document, hopefully, as it's updated, is going to have new items, new goals and objectives that we haven't even talked about yet. So I just want everybody just to not look necessarily just at the items that are highlighted in the old one, but understand that there's still opportunity to flex the wings and add things and add some creativity and opportunity into what we view as Our Town, Our Future's role and contribution to the document.
The item that I personally spent many hours putting together is we had all of these objectives scattered throughout the whole document, and there was nothing that assigned responsibility for each of the objectives. So in the back end of that document, there's this 4 or 5 page document that says for each objective who's responsible for it.
Yeah.
And that's a good place to begin looking at where things are and where they need to go in the future.
Well, and so many themes surfaced out of that last session we did at Town Hall, right? About the areas that are of sort of current interest for people. There was a wildlife contingent, there was obviously a business contingent there, there were a lot of different themes that bubbled up. So we should also kind of review that and see how does any of that, how do we fit any of those things into the POCD, or make sure they're reflected. So,
Yep.
So I'll forward that document with those items on it to everyone as well.
That'd be great.
POCD.
Yeah,
Thank you.
it's just as an aside, I'm not sure if everyone drives by the Midway, but it looks like they are actively rebuilding it now. So that's a positive thing for the town, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Taking them.
I just
Go
had
ahead,
a question too. We discussed it one time about a dog park. I know we could fit that in somewhere. Is there any interest in that still? Or I know we wouldn't do what we would facilitate, but if people are hiking and we're bringing into the town, I think a dog park. So we had talked about it. That's kind of been dismissed. Yep. Or
I know that I think the previous selectman was talking about it and looking at how that could be coordinated with either Park and Rec Commission or somebody. Again, like a lot of things, there has to be somebody who wants to take the lead on it, right?
Right. And,
so I think that was part of the discussion, but that's a good point. And those are the type of things, Maureen and others, that we should identify, and when we provide feedback on the document, include those items as potentials out there, because that maybe and figure out maybe it does fit under park and our recreation component. But I think those are good points.
Good.
Because if it's not at least not listed someplace, it's going to be forgotten. Okay. Any other thoughts, comments, questions? Well, if not, bid everyone a rest of a good evening, and thank you for all attending. And I'll get these minutes out and keep on smiling.
Sounds good. Nora, I'll be in touch with you on some PR stuff.
Thank you,
All
Mike.
right.
Thank you,
Thanks,
everybody.
Margaret.
Take care.
Good
Bye-bye.
luck to you, Mike.
Oh, and thank you. And adjournment. I guess we have a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
Thank you.
Second.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Now we can leave for sure. Thank you.
Okay, legally.
Bye. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Hey, Mike, this is Dick. I've been meaning to call you. I know you've been kind of circumspect and things, but are things going left with your wife? Is that the issue? She's yeah. Is this at Dana Farber? Okay, yeah. Yeah, my late wife was at Dana Farber for a while, and I regret that I didn't get her up there sooner and had relied on the local hospitals. Well, yeah, you've definitely got to do that, and I've been thinking about you, and I figured something like this was going on, so you've been in my prayers. Well, the interesting thing is that the physical therapist basically said there's nothing more she can do for me. So she says her recommendation is that I get one of those rollators. That's the thing you walk behind and sit on, and I'm resisting that, and I'm going to a chiropractor that is uh, in stores, and he's an orthopedic doctor in addition to a chiropractor. So I'm gonna see what I can do with him. Yep. Well, the problem you run up against is I it ran out all of my Medicare paid physical therapy. So even though I like the physical therapist immensely, she says, you're just going to have to accept that you're not going to be able to do anything. And I says, no, I don't think so. So, Well, we'll be thinking of you every morning, and uh, and you know, the fact that you're into something that is actively, you know, trying to reverse the course of things is important. Well, you know, the thing that I always come back to is that my late wife, we went to the only hospital we could get into was New Britain. And the doctor there had the approach that, you know, you're eventually going to die, whether you want to die quickly or die longer. It's up to you. And if I had known what I know now and had gone to Dana-Farber, the doctor, she saw it there, said if you'd come to us first, I couldn't guarantee that you would be cancer-free, but she said, I know you would have lived longer than 18 months. You know, she says, you know, 5 to 10 years would have been more likely. So it's a big difference but where you go to. So you're doing the right thing. Well, good luck to you, and I know you won't be in the mode of seeing the sights and sounds of Boston, but at least when things are up, you know, find a good. There's a lot of great restaurants and places to go there. Yeah, yeah. Well, hey, you take care, and as I said, we'll be praying for you every morning. Okay, take care.